What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Luke. A little bit fired up this morning. We'll get to that here in a second. But looking forward to round two, bringing you our live stream and picks for Showdown, for PrizePicks, whatever you guys want to touch on. It can be live outright bets, cash plays. Really, this time is yours. So if you have any questions, anything you want me to do a deep dive on, go ahead and ask down in chat. I can see a bunch of you down there. I guess I'll start with what's got me fired up this morning. I woke up. Over there on PrizePicks, they decided to remove me from my ambassador role. And I have to think it's because I'm talking shit to their lines makers, calling them out for being absolutely bitch made, bumping props on stream. I know they're a part of my Patreon. They watch my videos, so on and so forth. So I'm not somebody to sit back, not call somebody out on their bullshit. And I guess they finally had it with it. So it doesn't help that we went out there, swept yesterday. I mean, all of you out there absolutely robbed them for their money. So, hey, we pissed them off enough for us to get removed from our role. So, hey, if they're going to give us that big middle finger, I'm one of those guys that you don't want to get riled up. I'm extremely competitive. I'd like to think that I thrive under pressure, especially. And boy, oh boy, did they just give me that extra motivation there. So I don't know if they did the right thing, especially if they're trying to protect their bottom line when it comes to the money. Because if anything, you're going to see a nastier, much more aggressive Luke, which for the bankroll guys is going to be an exciting thing. So just wanted to start with that. That's why I'm really fired up this morning. What's going on, DJ? What's going on, Tyler? Mr. Space Lee? Welcome on in, everybody. Should have nuked the last play. Yeah, me too. I wish I put 10 grand on it. That would have been pretty sweet. But unfortunately, PrizePicks also has me limited when it comes to my bankroll. So I can only enter $500 of cards. So just another reason that they're absolute scum of the earth. And yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we're not going to hold back anymore. We're just going to call them out for what they are. Jonathan says with the PrizePicks news, times to run it back and hit them again. Yeah, we're going to run it back and hit them over and over again. It's going to be drive-bys. Rolling up to the bank, just taking out bags of cash from PrizePicks, and then giving them the double middle finger on the way out too. That's the kind of bank robbery that we're about to go out there, the heist we're about to put on, man. What's going on, Jake? What's going on, Uproar? Chat is absolutely on fire this morning. So kind of like my personality right now. I love to see it. Kyle says, good thing that Griffin birdied 17 because 18 looked like some of my scoring. Boy, oh boy, do I feel you, right? He had like 2 shots out of bounds. He had the chip in on 17 too. So I'm not sure if you saw it. He chipped in from just off the green. So yeah, dude, that was some run good. I mean, he had like 1 birdie through the first 9 holes. Actually, it might have been 0 birdies through the first 9 holes and then just turned it on, right? Went out there, was pin seeking. So love to see it. What's going on to Peach? Absolutely. Thanks for yesterday. Of course. Let's run it back today. No way they removed you, literally. Isn't that just like the lowest level you can get to? And on top of that, not only was I removed from my role, I wasn't given explanation. I was blocked by all the staff, so I can't even ask why I ended up being removed from my role. And yeah, again, no notice of it, right? Other than trying to log onto the server and being timed out. So I think just comical. Pretty childish stuff, if you ask me, from their part, but is what it is. Again, they're giving me that extra edge that I didn't need to begin with. I'm already a fiery guy to start with, and now they're just, boy, oh boy, you don't poke the bear, as they like to say, the proverbial bear. And I'm one of those people that you don't do that to. DJ says it's cool. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're just gonna get back at them. What's going on, guys? What's going on, Ben? Good morning. Love to see you down there in chat. Ray BB, of course. What's going on, Jaggets? Ali the G. Let's get into this. So yeah, you didn't know anything about PrizePicks? Yeah, bro. They we can have a conversation on the side about it. Yeah, I don't want to be too harsh because there's a lot of people over there I do like, but a couple of people that have rubbed me the wrong way. Let's just say that, right? And I don't know. Maybe I honestly think that the people that banned me aren't even people that I'm talking to on the server. I have a feeling it has to do with the people controlling the money, right? Seeing some of the money that were taken from them, and I don't think they're too happy about that. That's my opinion. So again, no harsh feelings towards some of the social staff or anything like that. But hey, if it was from them, then yeah, screw you, right? But again, I'm assuming that it wasn't. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Who knows? But let's get into this golf course. Let's stop talking about the drama. I'm not a drama queen. But again, I wanted to let you guys know why you don't see me as an ambassador on there anymore. Pretty funny stuff, if you ask me. But the courses yesterday played like we expected. Pebble, Monterey, Peninsula both played significantly easier than what we saw at Spyglass. It was right around like a 1.8, 1.9 shot difference between the courses. You can see both of these, Monterey and Pebble played right about a shot, 1.1 shots under. Spyglass played 0.77 over par. And another part of the story from yesterday were the late winds that came through. So if you split this by quote unquote wave, for a regular golf tournament, it's going to take the AM tee times and then the PM tee times, give you both the averages. Well, we didn't have that yesterday. All players teed off within 2 hours. So all this is doing here is splitting it to the first half of tee times and then versus the second half of tee times that went out yesterday. And look at this. Spyglass played 1.6 shots harder on just the second hour. Okay, so keep that in mind. Go over here to Pebble Beach. It played a shot harder there for the second half. Okay, so Spyglass, it has this reputation for being a little bit more protected by the wind. You'll hear that from a lot of the pundits out there. Doesn't look like it. Looks like it was more affected by the wind than anything, right? But okay, you might go, oh, shitty players are playing at Spyglass. No, they weren't. That was Victor Hovland. It was Matt Fitzpatrick, Jordan Spieth. Literally all of the top end players were playing on Spyglass yesterday, yet they had a worse effect in the wind than everybody else. So again, if you're trying to use that argument, it's not there, right? You're unfortunately incorrect. And then you take a look at Monterey, and it was only affected by about a shot. So what this tells me is that there's this false narrative out there that people are trying to galaxy brain, saying that, oh, Spyglass when it's windy, not affected, right? It's going to be, maybe the guys to target, right? We want guys that are playing Spyglass on Saturday is what I honestly thought could happen. I thought it was something that you might want to target, but there were a lot of people out there being very aggressive about it. The stats from round one don't show that. Right? It shows that if anything, you want to be targeting Pebble and Monterey because they still played under par during those waves, right? You can see Monterey played 0.75 under, Pebble Beach played 0.5 shots under par. So that's probably going to get a little bit worse today, given that the weather is going to be a little bit more sustained. But this false narrative that you can just go after the Spyglass guys and think that they're just going to be in easier conditions, probably not the way to play it. When you take a look at the weather, you'll see why I'm focusing on the wind, focusing on that second half of the day, because we're looking at similarly gusty conditions here for at least the first 3, 4, probably 5 hours of play today. The guys teeing off a little bit later, so closer to like 10:45, 10:30 local time there, might get a little bit of a break as they're going to have slightly lower wind gusts from right about 2 p.m. onwards, but they're finishing the rounds over there right around like 4:30 p.m. local. They don't have much sunlight this time of year over there at Pebble Beach. It gets really cold really fast out there. You can see it goes down to 54 degrees. And as that sun starts to go down, it just gets exponentially colder there on the coast with how dense and how humid the air is. So they want to get these guys off the course probably 3:30, 4 p.m. if they can go about it. But this weather is going to throw a huge curveball, right? It's going to be raining all day. So on top of these wind gusts, on top of the cold air that's going to be coming in towards the end of play, you have rain that's supposed to be sustained the entire day. All of this is going to make conditions, I think, even more difficult than what we saw for yesterday afternoon, where it was already starting to trend towards, again, right about an even par average. Most of the play there, I'd say it was like 50-50 in windy conditions, 50-50 in calm conditions for the guys that were in that PM wave, if not closer to like 60-65% calm conditions for the guys that were going off late, yet they were still playing in conditions that were about a shot harder. So imagine if even more of the round is affected today. Imagine if the rain is added on top to that, right? There was no rain yesterday afternoon. You could be looking at a little bit of carnage. I mean, I don't want to use that word because what we saw at Torrey Pines for round two, that was carnage, right? Going out there, saw a scoring average of like 75. You're not going to quite see that, but you're not going to have this birdie fest that we had yesterday where players were taking it to 8, 7 under par, like Harry Hall, Chad Ramey, for example. First off, Chad Ramey, Hank Leviota, where the hell did they come from? They some of the worst form of anybody in the field, yet they popped there for first round leaders. So that's interesting. I'll just say that. Aaron Baddeley, that was nice to see. Played a bunch of him. Stallings carried us yesterday. So, these 6, 7 under pars kind of scores, you're just not going to see them this time around. I think you're ceiling maybe 5, 6 under par if somebody really has command of their iron play in these nasty conditions. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit more of a dredging today. You're going to see a lot more blow up pulls, a lot more blow up scores out of the players today. And there were already quite a few yesterday. I mean, look at the bottom of the board, guys. There's plenty of +3 scores or worse. Some pretty solid players too, right? Like a Streelman's up here. Damon, right? Shot +3. Alex Smalley, who I loved this week, shot +3. Trey Molinax, Eric Van Rooyen, Kevin Kisner, for example, all these kind of guys blew up yesterday, and that was in ideal conditions. Just what do you think is going to happen today when it's even nastier? It's raining out, so on and so forth. It's just, like I said, it could be a little bit of carnage. Let's catch up on chat. Then let's hop into our DFS player pool. I'll remind you guys, if you're new over here to these live streams, the way we do it is we go through the golf course, then we go through the DFS board, talk about some of my favorite showdown plays, go through any questions, and then at the end, we do the props. We'll go through underdog, we'll go through PrizePicks, all of my top props here for tomorrow that haven't been bumped. But unfortunately, a lot of them have been bumped. So just bear with me there a little bit when we get to the prop section. There's certainly going to be guys that we're getting to, but not the full options that we had last night. So let's go through the fantasy board here. So towards the top of things, you're just got to talk about the chalk, right? So the chalk is going to be the guys playing on Monterey and the guys playing on Pebble. The thing is, up top, almost everyone's playing on Monterey and Pebble. So there's not really that much, ownership wise that's changing up top. I suppose other than guys like a Tom Hoagie going way under-owned. So he's only 9.6%. And I know I talked about before how, Spyglass is going to play more difficult, right? I wanted to point that out. It was more affected by the wind yesterday, but that means that literally no one's going to play the guys at Spyglass. So there's not a ton of the guys on Spyglass that I'm playing. But if they're a solid course fit, if they're coming in with form and they're single digit owned, I'm considering them. So guys like a Tom Hoagie, for example, I'm playing. Justin Rose, you have Denny McCarthy here, both 6-5% owned respectively, are going to be players that I'm getting to in my player pool. So we'll go through it. Some of it's game theory, a lot of it's game theory. I shouldn't even say some of it. When it comes to Showdown, almost all of your process should be game theory oriented because of how random golf can be in an 18-hole sample size. Let's catch up on chat, see what's going on, boys. Free Luke. What's going on? We have Hunter says, what's up, bro? What's going on? Jay Full says, great calls yesterday. Nailed Knox and Walker birdies are better. Yeah, had those on top. I think of the players that I gave on stream, the core 4 hit. Everyone knows that. But on top of that, yeah, those 2 hit. I think, Denny McCarthy ended up hitting 2. And then the one that missed, I didn't actually end up using it, but I put it out there, was Justin Rose over 4.5 birdies. He was at 4 and underdog, so that's where I got my exposure. Ended up pushing there, but yeah, it was a good day yesterday. Manuel says, Eric Cole is one of the most underrated golfers playing this year. Yeah, his shots gained are great. He does it a lot with the putter and around the green. So I think that's why people maybe aren't that excited about playing him, Manuel. But kind of like a Taylor Montgomery, if that's just what he's good at, if that's just his identity, then maybe we need to, like you said, give him a little bit more credit. So I'm one of the people that's been a little bit more hesitant just because, you always hear that the around the green, the putting can be a little bit hard to keep up. But we'll have to see. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe he's just, one of those elite level around the green players that, they're a thing, right? They come out every once in a while. Clay says, how many 7K guys would you allow in a single entry? 2 or 3, I would say. I think that if you're getting 3, you're going with a little bit more of a balanced build. I like 2 a little bit more just because, if you have 2, that means you're being more aggressive, right? You're probably going down into the 6K range for at least one of your picks. Granted, you don't want to have 2 7K guys because you're taking all 8K guys, right? Going like 4 8K and then 2 7K. But if you're maybe being a little bit more aggressive up top, going with 2 10K options or maybe 1 10K and 2 9K options, that's the ideal build for me. So we'll actually go through, make a lineup together here after we go through the player poll. But yeah, that's going to help out. G just says the wind kicked up. Really? Yeah. So yeah, we were actually going through the wind before. It's actually even a little bit higher than that. The wind gusts are between 25 to 28 miles an hour. The sustained wind's a little bit lower, but yeah, I think we're looking at the same thing, man. The winds are actually even a little bit worse. Colin says, Luke, what's going on, Colin? Welcome on in. The Peach says, thoughts on Blair or Todd? So I have to say, Brendan Todd, right, going to be a lot more expensive. So if you have the salary, then you play Brendan Todd, right? But Zach Blair, if you're getting somebody better up top because you're going down to a Zach Blair. I don't hate the idea, but if it's just a one-to-one kind of comparison, then I'm not so sure about it. Zach Blair I like because he's been playing well of late. He was a talented player back in the day, but he's now a course architect. So he literally doesn't practice at golf. I don't know if you guys know that about Zach Blair. It's well documented. He's literally too busy as a course architect from Monday through Wednesday to do anything else. So he travels to the golf courses. He does a lot of his work remotely, and then he goes to maybe his practice rounds or something like that. So it's not like he's completely neglecting his preparation, but he's been on fire over the last few months. And that's why you see him playing every week. He doesn't have the time to go out there, grind on his game. So he just plays when he's playing well to continue up that form. So that's what I like about Zach Blair is we've caught him in a stretch of form where he's going out there, he's making cuts. He's a good iron player, a good wedge player. That it makes sense for me. Tim says Kisner kind of day. I hope not. I actually faded Kisner in a few PrizePicks cards, but you're right. He does tend to be one of those grinders, right? He can flight the golf ball. So you're scaring me a little bit, Tim. I agree with you, but I kind of hope that he's a little rusty. I have to say with Kiz, I don't know if you guys saw, he's using the Wilson golf clubs now. And I don't know if you guys have hit a Wilson club before. I don't know if they're like cheap clubs. I'm not going to diss them too much because I've seen plenty of quality players using Wilson, but they're not nearly as sexy. They don't have nearly as much pop, in my opinion, as Titleist irons, tailor-made irons for sure. Mizuno irons have a much better feel than Wilson. So poor Kisner, not only rusty, not in the best form, he's dealing with the change to Wilson clubs. I mean, it's just, I honestly think that might affect him. So it did round one. He looked like dog shit out there. If he looks bad today, it's probably the Wilson clubs. Like, no, not even joking. They're inferior to the rest out there. Anybody using Wilson clubs on tour, like they're doing it for the money. That's all I can say, because they're not worried about winning golf tournaments if they're using Wilson. Kyle says, feel bad for Kisner. Yep. Shocked to see Smalley down there too. Agreed. Yeah. +3. I mean, he's usually a stout around the green player too. So I'm looking for him to bounce back. I really hope he does. I have quite a bit of exposure to Smalley in my four-round contest. Let's see. What's his price tag? Yeah, he's $8,500. He's super low owned because he had that bad round. I think it's time to jump back on board, right? Give him a second chance. He's a world-class player. Darren says, you work in 15 minutes. Did you go over PrizePicks? I did not. That'll be likely in probably like 20, 25 minutes. So you might end up missing out, Darren, unfortunately. The replay will be up. So if you're going to work, you're able to check back in like 30 minutes, that sort of thing. Just go to the replay and skip to the end of the video. You'll be able to catch it that way. But yeah, appreciate you too. Appreciate you stopping by, man. DTBs goes, did he go over PrizePicks? No, that'll be at the end. I appreciate you guys letting them know, by the way, like Jonathan down there. Appreciate you. The Peach says, nice that Brooks and Cam for Euro hit so we can set up for the day. Yeah, so if you guys were on the Patreon, Cam Young ended up hitting. Same thing with Brooks Koepka when it came to the Euro golf stuff. We used those to get rid of the multiplier. So on PrizePicks, if you use 4 props of the same direction, you're going to get a negative multiplier. So like for a 4-leg power, you would only get a 7x payout as opposed to 10x. But by adding in the 1 Euro golf slip, they kind of have it messed up right now where you'll get the full payout. So it'll like default to like your regular like MLB slip or something like that where there's no correlation to it. And you can go out there and get the full payout. So what we did is we all played Cam Young. We played a bunch of Brooks Koepka in those cards, and they hit. So, yeah, DePeach setting up pretty nicely. But, yeah, we'll be talking about getting rid of those multipliers here in a little bit. Yeah, I got you. Absolutely. DePeach says, thanks for the answer. No, it wasn't I was considering them both in a cash bowl. Gotcha. Yeah. So if you're considering both in cash, I'm fine with it. They're accurate players. I tend to like the short guys in windy conditions just because they hit the ball lower by default, right? Like the further you hit it, it's proportional to how high you hit the ball. It's a relatively simple equation when it comes to ballistics. And yeah, so like the shorter hitters like that, like a Zach Blair, Brendan Taub, make perfect sense. Love it, DePeach. Chris says, any insight into Tyson Alexander? He's the min on FanDuel. Yes, if he's the min on FanDuel, Chris, love it. And I would play that in cash because Tyson Alexander I'm playing for today. And it's not necessarily just because like the price tag, right? He's $6,600 on DraftKings. I think he's just a good fit for Monterey Peninsula. It's the easiest course. He's 1% owned. He's got a lot better finishes than anybody else in that range down there. So yeah, Chris, honestly, I like him on DraftKings. I love him on FanDuel. That's crazy. I know the pricing over there is extremely soft on FanDuel, so it's not surprising. But just some of the guys they have at the min price tag are just ridiculous to me, right? They're not min price golfers. Darren says, "Sweet man, yep, I'll replay it in 45 minutes. Sounds great, man." And Petrini says, "Would you take Rose on Spyglass?" I would. And I'd also take Denny McCarthy. So we'll get into the reasoning here again. I went over it here just a little bit ago, but these guys on Spyglass, they're going to play a course that's going to play like a shot over par. These guys on Monterey and Pebble, it's going to play like even par, maybe even slightly over par itself. So it's like you're choosing between 3 golf courses where the scoring average is going to be shit everywhere, right? Your ceiling performance today is going to be like 4 or 5 under par, I think, at the very best across all 3 courses. So even the guys on Spyglass that have the hardest of the 3 tracks, I don't think it's impossible. So I would go with that. And Petrini, I would say, yeah, you can play, especially like these top tier guys, like a Justin Rose, Denny McCarthy, Tom Hoagie, because you're going to have guys out there that just literally exit out the course from their player pool. Like, I'm not playing anybody from Spyglass. And you saw it today. Like, let's look at the leaderboard. There wasn't a ton of guys that played well at Spyglass, but there were a few, right? So like Brandon Wu shot 3 under par. I mean, it's not anything crazy, right? Bramlett shot 4 under par. That's really good for that golf course. Mitchell shot 5 under par there at Spyglass Hill. And what your best score yesterday was 8 under there at Monterey Peninsula. Now with all of those wins in play, I think it's going to make all 3 courses just a lot more difficult. I'm even more willing today because of the weather to get to those guys for sure. Thank you, Uproar. I appreciate that. One thing I will say is that professional is not really a word that I'd use for myself, but I appreciate you either way. What's going on, Breakfast Ball? Cool. I didn't recognize you at first, but what's going on, man? Kicking yourself for not throwing more on that 4-man. Yeah, me too, man. Like I said, I wish I had like 8 alternate accounts. I could just like go out there, like max bet on all of them on my card yesterday because we'd be rich if we did that. Tim says Streelman and Steele are the only decent Wilson staffers. Yeah, and imagine if they played tailor-made is what I'm saying, right? Imagine they went out there, they switched to Titleist clubs. Fucking Brendan Steele would be hitting it like Rory McIlroy. Streelman might come back to being a decent player on tour if they went and switched. But yeah. Joseph says thoughts on Harry Hall. Harry Hall, he's probably just going to be a little bit too highly owned for me. So because he shot 7 under par, plenty of people are going to give him attention. He was already getting some ownership going into the week. So I've got him at 6.7%, which isn't anything that you absolutely have to avoid, right? He's not mega chalk. It's like 3.6% owned Mark Hubbard. It's like half the ownership, but it's not like you're dealing with a 10, 15% owned Harry Hall. I just slightly prefer guys around him, like a Brandon Wu, for example, like a Garrick Higo, like an Austin Smotherman, that are all coming in slightly lower owned. And I think are pretty much the same play. I don't know. When somebody goes out there and shoots like 7 under par in round 1, it's really hard to back that up. And it's even harder to back that up when you're like a lower tier player, like a Harry Hall. So I would probably avoid him, but I don't think you have to. It's not like he's mega chalk. So if you really like him going out there and repeating that performance, then I'm not going to talk you off it. Kyle says PrizePicks removed fairways hit. You shut them down. Yeah, there's no greens regulation either. They're struggling out there. Ryan says Damon bounce back day. Yeah, I didn't play him this week. Luckily, I faded his ass. But I don't know. I'm taking him in DFS. I don't know if I'm going to use him over there in PrizePicks. Is he even on the PrizePicks board? Let me double check that. I don't think he is. They have some of the guys at Monterey, but they don't have Joel Damon on there. Or they do. They do have Joel up there. He's at 71 strokes. I don't know. We'll talk about PrizePicks a little bit later, but I like him even more for DFS. He's 8.9% owned. And the one thing I'll say about Joel is that he had a kid a month and a half ago. He, was in paternity leave for the last like 6 weeks. He did not touch a golf club. He's not the type of guy to practice when he's not playing golf. He's not that busy. He's not like a Zach Blair who has like a legit job that he's working while he's on the PGA Tour. Joel Damon just likes to enjoy himself. He likes to sit back, have a couple cold ones, right? Go out, play some poker with his buddies, like all of us, I think, right? Would empathize with Joel Damon there. It's going to take him a couple rounds to get it figured out. So that's why I didn't play him in my 4-round contest. But terms of his bounce back today, I could see it. Mitchell is the favorite on DK today. Interesting. Yeah, because he shot 5 under at Spyglass. Makes sense. He's technically the leader in the clubhouse. He's played well at this golf course before as well. So, yeah, for sure. And I agree with that. Ryan says, thoughts on Seamus today? Good bounce back candidate. He didn't play his best yesterday, but he's playing Monterey. He's going to be lower owned. He's much lower priced because of his rough day yesterday. And he still made 5 birdies. So it's not like he went out there and wasn't posting birdie production. He was. It's just he had a couple double bogeys. He had a couple, blemishes on the record that kept him from posting something like 2-3 under par at Spyglass. So one thing I'll say about him too is that he's from Ireland, right? He's used, and I hate to use these narratives, but when it's like these European players that are used to playing in the wind, that I'm going to use that narrative because it's a legitimate thing. You hear it from all of them. Like when you get Seamus, it was actually at the DP World Tour event a few weeks ago over there in the Middle East. And it was a little bit rainy, a little bit windier than usual. And he's like, I love it. That's how it is in Ireland, right? So it's not just narrative. It's not just me speculating at that point. You've heard these guys talk about, when conditions are familiar to what they're used to, it's a good thing. So I like that for Seamus. I love it for Justin Rose, right? Something I didn't mention before. I was talking about the Justin Rose play. It's another reason to play him. He's used to those conditions, right? Being from the UK and whatnot. Let's see what else we've got in chat. Joseph says, where do you look to find which course a guy is playing on? So you see column D there, Joseph. Column C, which is like MPSH and whatnot. Those are the courses that they're playing. It's also on the PGA Tour leaderboard. So if you go to tee times and go to round 2, it'll show you what course everyone's playing. That's how I ended up finding them myself. But yeah, if you're just talking about on the live stream, then column C for you. They're on the middle left side. Ryan says, I see you're off fits today. Is that strictly because of ownership? It's because of ownership. Yeah, because first off, he's injured. He was not hitting the ball very far yesterday from when we saw him. He was hitting a lot of shots off the fairway yesterday. So I think he's a little bit rusty. And because of how he finished his round, I have him at 27% ownership and he's $9,600. So he's a steal. So if you're looking at just like a pure projection, compared to salary, fantastic play. The unfortunate outcome of that is that everyone's going to play Fitz, right? He's like, you can take a Spieth or a Hovland up top, and then your second man in can be a Fitz, and you can still have a relatively balanced lineup, particularly with how soft the pricing is in that 7K range, or you're even in the top of that 6K range. A lot of quality options that you can get to. So it is ownership based. It's if you're just looking at a pure projection compared to salary, like I said, great play. Look at this points per dollar race, 3.53. I believe that's the highest of anybody here in this elite tier range, but he's also the highest owned player in this 9K range. Not nearly as high owned as a Hovland, who I'm also fading, which, that shouldn't be surprising, right? I'm usually going to fade the highest owned player when it comes to Showdown, but especially somebody like Matt Fitzpatrick, who I have legit concerns about when it comes to his health. The fact that he's got the back injury going on. Played pretty well yesterday. I got to give him credit there. He was able to tough it out, go out there and score, but sometimes it catches up to you after a round or so. Sometimes it doesn't. The fact that he's chalk keeps me off him. Kevin says, are you setting any parameters for how many golfers you put on a certain course? So I'm not. I'm personally kind of just mixing in a few guys from Spyglass. A majority of my pool are guys that are playing at Monterey or playing at Pebble Beach. So by default, I'm probably going to have about I'd say like a 40-40-20 split between guys, the 2 easiest courses and then 20% at Spyglass. But there's not going to be any sort of rule that I'm setting for today. It's going to be just mix and match. Whatever the optimizer is jamming into lineups, I'm going to go out there and take. I'm personally playing 150 lineups, so I'm going to be able to cover a bunch of different outcomes. I'll be able to take care of, a bunch of just 5 1s, 4 2s, that sort of thing, just by default. So I'm not going to have to force it in. But if I was playing 20 lineups or I was hand building a few lineups, I might try and stack a golf course, right? Might try and go out there and go, you know what? Maybe Spyglass plays a lot easier than we think today, that sort of thing. And take a shot in the dark. I've seen crazier things happen. Joseph says, thanks, Luke. Huge advantages to be found on props when they're playing at different courses. Agreed. And especially when you're looking at the underdog side, plenty of, at least at first when they dropped to the board, there was an insane amount of value on that side. Kyle says, Spieth, Hovland, and Fitz all just got bumped to 5 birdies or better on underdog. Honestly, yeah, I'd take their unders. I haven't taken their unders on PrizePicks or underdog yet, but that's what I would lean on. I don't see many guys making 6 birdies today, especially early on. Like the first half of the day, you might see a few guys make like 2-3 birdies might be the ceiling for the first 9 or so holes. Getting to 6+ birdies is they're going to have to light it up on the back. They'd have to go out there, when things calm a little bit down towards the end of the day, that's when they'd have to go out there and make 4 or 5 birdies. And that's going to be tough. So I would probably fade those guys, to be honest. Even more so an underdog now. Ember Trini says, thoughts on Kodaira on Spyglass? I'm not as sold on these guys towards like the 7K range when it comes to playing them at Spyglass. So I personally won't be playing him today, but it's not the craziest thing, right? He played decently. Spyglass, it's not a perfect course fit for anybody. So, the course isn't going to give him much help there. It's not like he's a perfect fit for Spyglass to begin with. But I don't know. I've seen crazier things. I'm not going to be getting there, though. Tyler says, do you think Hovland can beat Fitz today? Thanks for the content. Absolutely. Yes. First off, head-to-head, I'd take Hovland all day. Second off, then you got the injury shit to worry about. So yeah, 100% Tyler. So if you're looking at that matchup, if it's anywhere even close to even money, like -110, -115, that sort of thing, yeah, absolutely. I think Hov can beat him. And if you're talking about on PrizePicks, I'd take that too. Is that the matchup on PrizePicks? I guess I should look. I'm not a big matchup guy, so I honestly half the time I don't even look at them. Let's see. Do they even have a Holland matchup? I guess they don't. That's unfortunate. I guess they don't. Or maybe they took it off. Either way, yeah, 100% would consider that. Let's go through a few of the other plays I just want to point out here. We're not going to talk about the entire player pool. Again, for access to every play that I'm getting to, check out the Patreon page. All these spreadsheets. It gives you a good way to research the field, right? You have the pricing here, course, and the score for a player alongside their projected points and ownership. So it makes it really easy to go through and determine your own player pool. And of course, you can compare to what I'm doing as well. But a few guys I want to point out, Alex Smalley, great pivot play there in the 8K range. Kevin Kisner, I am playing when it comes to Showdown. Like I said, I'm a little bit terrified of it. I am fading him over on the prop side because from a 50-50 perspective, I think it's more than reasonable for him to go out there and have a rough day. But I also see the upside in getting to Kisner, who in the past, right, and this is when he's playing well, when he's in form, that sort of thing, has shined in windy conditions. It's just we don't know if he's going to be able to do so now, right? Given that he's in such shoddy form. A few other guys to point out, Russell Knox, right, loves the wind. So if you think it's going to be nasty, maybe worth taking a shot on. Kevin Streelman too. So it's funny, all these guys I'm shitting on, right, for the Wilson guys, so on and so forth, I'm playing. But it's, I'm shitting on them because it's out of tough love. I love the guys to death. Troy Merritt, Aaron Baddeley, Harry Higgs. I'll be getting to all three of them. Higgs, relatively solid on ball flight. He hits it low. So he's been stout when it comes to windy conditions. But Garrick Hego, I like when it's windy. Let's see. Mark Hubbard, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. So he's returning from almost having his foot cut off. His daughter dropped a knife. It hit, I believe, like it might have been his big toe on his right foot. Had to go and essentially get it reattached, which is nasty. But he's playing. He at least got through round one. He shot 1 over par, which really isn't all that bad. So at least we know he can get through 18 holes. So I'm willing to get there. Ben Martin at 2%. Got to like that. And that's at 2% despite shooting -5. Despite going out there and having a really good round, my algorithm doesn't have him getting that much steam. So you got to like that. Let's see what else we've got. Dylan Fratelli, like him when conditions get tough. You've seen him pop at U.S. Opens or even Open Championships before because of that. Austin Eckroat, way underpriced. He's only $6,700. Got Peter Malnati. He'll always be in the player pool when it comes to Showdown. James Hahn, horrible day one. I'd say my 10% of lineups with James Hahn right now, not good. Not likely going to make the cut. Let's just say that. But luckily, we've got 2 more rounds left, right? Until they actually make the cut line. So James Hahn, playing you in Showdown, but more than anything, just make some damn birdies to get us some fantasy points for week long, right? So that these the 10% of lineups that unfortunately have Hahn in them aren't just dead on arrival out there. Do you like Tyson Alexander? Marcel Siem, he played decently. He made a bunch of birdies in round one. Unfortunately, also mixed in a ton of bogeys too, so shot even par. But in terms of talent level, he's like a $7,500 golfer at the very least. So excellent value there. Also not really highly owned, only 0.6%. Rory Sabatini, I think he's the lowest guy on the board I'm taking. He is. So Rory Sabatini, I'm playing at $6,400 because he's a high birdie percentage player. And when you get him at a short course like Pebble, it's when he goes out there and he can smash. Like he's not going to be very consistent. He's going to have a few rounds of like 75, 76 or worse. And then he'll mix in a 63, a 64 every once in a while. Add on top of that he's a low ball flight player, one of those shorter players that tends to be able to keep the wedges lower than some of his counterparts. And you have a perfect storm for perhaps Sabatini at $6,400. And he's a great POA putter too. You got to add that to it too, right? Maybe I can't call him the best POA putter in this range because some of the small sample size guys like Albertson or Willie McGirt end up actually edging him, but 0.8 shots per round is elite level stuff. So gotta love that from good old Sabatini, the bucket hat and Hawaiian shirt legend that he is. Let's go ahead, catch up on chat. We'll go through any of your DFS questions. I'll remind you, we'll be going through PrizePicks probably in the next 5-10 minutes now. I'm just going to go through a few lineups here, any live questions you have, and then transition over to the prop side. So if you've been patiently waiting, which if you have, I appreciate you guys. I know a long live stream here, but there's a lot to touch on. We'll be getting to that here shortly. Let's catch up on chat though. Ryan says, do you have any tips for making sports betting your main income? It's a good question. Don't do it unless you're extremely comfortable and you're already making money that can sustain your living, right? So for me, I'll give you guys the background. I've done it a few times already. A lot of you guys already know my background. I graduated from college, an electrical engineering degree, immediately went into the workforce and was making healthy income, right? You guys know engineers don't have to brag on it too much. You can make a healthy income. So I had that going for me. And I started doing DFS on the side. I'd come home, make my models, specifically with NBA DFS, was where I was putting a majority of my time at that point. And at first, I wasn't doing anything. I was making at most $1,000 a month, right? Which if you're doing it for fun's great, right? That was doubling my money every single month on average. I hit one for 100K at one point, which really gave me a bunch of bankroll. That was actually pretty early in my career too. So that was really sweet to go out there and hit. But it wasn't until I was out there making livable income to where I actually went away from engineering, was able to quit that and go full time into what I'm doing now. So, and it's tough. That's all I can say is, you have to be willing to bet on yourself. Obviously, you have to be willing to give yourself all that much time, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're already posting results that can keep that up because, you can work on all you want, right? You don't need to go into it full time. Just do what you're doing now. On the side, when you get home, make it a hobby, right? Just get better at your craft day after day. And if you get to a point where you're making enough money to actually substantiate going away from your job, then do so, right? When I was making more money sitting at home betting on sports, just in the 3 hours after work every day than I was at my day job, that's when I knew it was a really easy decision to go over, to make that leap, right? It was actually fairly straightforward, right? To make that sort of leap. But unless you get to that point, it's really hard to do that. That's my advice. And so it's maybe not the advice you were hoping to hear, but that's the truth. Dyson says, how long do these streams last? Usually about an hour, about hour 15 sometimes. Jeff says, what is the easiest course? Monterey and Pebble Beach. So I'll bring it up for you. They're almost identical. They're within 0.1 shots of each other. So let's bring it up. Let's hop over here. So yesterday, Monterey played 1.15 shots under par, and then Pebble Beach played 1.02 shots. So both of them significantly easier than what you have at Spyglass. So if you're just trying to choose players from your player pool, the guys at Spyglass are going to project maybe 4 or 5 points lower than what you have for the guys at Pebble Beach and Monterey, but they're also going to be much lower owned. So a little bit that has to be accounted for there. Tanner says, is it supposed to be windy in Pebble today? Great question. I know a few of you guys are just hopping in here. Welcome on in if you are. But yes, the weather report, we went through it a little bit earlier, pretty nasty. So I'll actually go ahead and refresh it here to see if there's any changes. There haven't been. But you're looking at between 20 to 26 mile an hour wind gusts for at least the first 4 or 5 hours of play. It should be raining throughout the day as well, which is just further going to add to the difficulty. And if you split this by the wave yesterday afternoon, they had some wind gusts come through for the last maybe hour and a half, 2 hours of play. And the guys that were out there late played in significantly harder conditions. You can say it was almost a shot harder at Spyglass. It was 1.6 shots harder. So yeah, Wind's going to play a huge factor. The golf course you're on is going to play a huge factor. If you want my full thoughts on that, just go towards the first like 5-10 minutes of the stream. You'll be able to catch that. Jeff says you haven't really seen any, but where do you see do you have any cash versus GPP delineation? I do not. To be honest, Jeff, I don't do cash content. If you have any questions about cash, you want to know like who I'd be taking for cash or maybe like a cash core, you can always ask me on the Patreon or ask me on the Discord page, but I'm not ever going to do cash content. Just it's not desirable, right? I'm only going to spend a lot of time on things that people are actually going to consume. And out of the couple hundred Patreons I have, I think there's like 2, maybe 3 people at the most that are going out there and playing cash slate on slate. So it's just more of a demand thing. I don't think people really demand the cash content. And anytime I'm putting content out there, it takes me a good amount of time. I mean, I spend a lot of time on the projections that I put out. So if I'm going to take the time to do something, it needs to be something that is in demand, that people are actually going to use. So Jeff, still more than willing to give you my cash thoughts. Just message me on Patreon, message me on Discord, that sort of thing. And I'll do it that way. Making a whole spreadsheet, not something I'm going to do. Joseph says, what about Ramey at 71.5 strokes? Yeah, we'll talk about PrizePicks here in a second. So let's actually let's get moving over towards that now. So last thing we're going to do for DFS is go through lineup construction for the next like 5 minutes here. Go through, believe it or not, a cash lineup. So it's good timing with your question there. And then we're going to go through some GPP stuff too. So in terms of your cash lineup, usually you want to be taking guys towards the top of the board, but you can see there's not really anybody that's standing out up top. You have a lot of guys that just shot -1, very average ownership across the board from here, like 9K plus. I would say Matt Fitzpatrick is almost a must play just because he's so cheap, right? He's a lot cheaper than he probably should be. And he's also one of the higher owned players on the slate. So I think if you're going to take anybody up here, probably should be a Matty Fitz. In terms of, a second man in at this point, this is where you can be creative. I mean, a Hovland makes sense. A Jordan Spieth makes sense, just given how much he likes the golf course here. I mean, he's very familiar with what he's going to see today over there at Monterey. So maybe it's Jordan Spieth. Again, maybe it's Hovland. Maybe you want to be a little bit more conservative and go down here and let's say take like a Keith Mitchell even, right? He's going to be over there at Monterey Peninsula, the easiest course. There's not really an obvious cash lineup when it comes to round 2 Showdown, at least this time around. For round 3 Showdown, when we start to get a little bit more separation on the leaderboard, it's probably going to be a little bit more obvious than what we had today. But yeah, starting with these sort of players is kind of what you're looking for. In this 8K range, I mean, I don't hate the idea of playing an SH Kim. He tends to be a relatively consistent player. Alex Smalley, I told you guys I absolutely love him here for today. So perhaps getting to him on the easiest golf course. Still left with $7,700 too. So like I said, just pricing is so soft. Yeah, let's put SH Kim there. So I'll say that these are like my 4 core cash plays. These guys in the 8K range, exceptional value, all playing the course that you're looking for. Actually, SH Kim, let me double check on SH. Where's the SH playing? He's playing at Pebble. We're good to go there. Sweet. So yeah, these are all guys I'd consider playing in cash. But again, there's the only guy I think you have to play when it comes to a cash lineup. And by have to, I think I'm just saying like the plus EV play, right, is taking the best play on the board and the highest owned play. Typically you want to eat that ownership when it comes to cash. It's a Matt Fitzpatrick. There's no doubt about it to me that he's going to be that guy who gets steamed up. When it comes to GPPs, my player pool is already relatively unique, but let's say I try and take a few chalky pieces, right? I'm going to try and fit in a few players that are going to be a little bit higher owned. So let's take Jordan Spieth here. For our second man in, this is where I want to differentiate, right? So if I'm taking like a 20-25% owned Spieth, it's mixing in a Justin Rose. It's mixing in perhaps a Denny McCarthy, who are playing at Spyglass, but are going to be 5-6% owned. That means that with our rest of our spots, we can really be as chalky as we want to. So if I really want to go out there and play a Kurt Kitayama, which I don't, he's going to be way chalkier than I want to, I'd be okay with it as long as I have a Denny McCarthy in this lineup. I mean, going down into the 7K range, we could take another chalky player. Like, let's say I really wanted Will Gordon in this GPP lineup, which, again, both of those players, let me double check on them. Yeah, I don't have Kurt Kitayama. I do have Will Gordon in my player pool. Gordon was just playing beautiful golf yesterday, so that's not a surprise. But when you take a look at this lineup, I'd be perfectly fine with it. Like, if you had, instead of McCarthy here, if we had, let's say, Matty Fitzpatrick at $9,600, for example, I would have no chance at entering this lineup, right? It's like 20%, nearly 30%. Two guys are going to be well over 15% owned in the 7K range. It's not that you're going to duplicate yourself because some of the contests for Showdown aren't very large. It's just that you're going to have a really hard time getting any sort of leverage to the field, having any sort of way to, move yourself up the leaderboard. So that's the idea for GPP, right? Make sure that that's why I try to avoid Matty Fitz, right? Because if you're avoiding Matty Fitz, the pivots around him are 5-6 times less owned. Whether that's a Seamus Power, who's not 5-6 times less owned, but he's like half as owned as a Matty Fitz, or of course Rose and McCarthy that are just the pivots of the century, and guys that I'll definitely be getting to. We'll wrap up the DFS questions, then hop into PrizePicks. By the way, if you haven't already hit that like button, make sure to go ahead and smash that while you're sitting by. Helps me grow the channel. I appreciate it a ton, boys. Let's see what we've got, though. We have Uproar who says, how much is your Patreon page? It's $10 a month for golf. So on there, you can get access to the projections you saw for DFS, all of my PrizePicks write-ups, all of the props as soon as I'm putting them in, so you can try and catch them before bumps. Underdog, sometimes bumps even before you can catch them. That's how fast they bump them. But yeah, for PrizePicks, it's definitely what you want to be on. Kamari says, you took Mitchell over 4.5 birdies and Hoagie over 4 birdies. Are those solid? I probably wouldn't be betting over birdies today, to be honest, man. It's looking like it's going to be pretty tough early. So they're not the worst picks. Mitchell played well in round one. Hoagie won here last year, played well for Thursday. So they're not crazy, but yeah, it's going to be tough with the weather. Do you think Fitzpatrick's neck injury will affect him? I do. I think if it's not today, he's going to feel it at some point throughout the weekend. And on the last hole yesterday, he hit a shot out of bounds on 18. So maybe it started to hit him then. Chris says, for cash, Mitchell and Blair versus Todd and Bramlett. Let's see. Yeah, so they're all at Monterey Peninsula, which is you either want them at Monterey or at Pebble. So like that. I would go with the first pair just because Mitchell's going to be higher owned than Todd. And Zach Blair versus Joseph Bramlett, I think I'd actually prefer Zach Blair, even though he's cheaper, right? He's quote unquote not as solid or as consistent of a player as a Bramlett. I just think from the skill set perspective, I prefer Blair in conditions like we're going to have today. So yeah, definitely the first for me, Chris. Do you only bet on golf? I bet on football too. So a lot of NFL stuff. I do NBA DFS, but I don't put any content out for that. That's very selfish of me when it comes to NBA. I have a process down. I've never even played basketball in my life before, but I have a process down for playing NBA DFS that is, I've stumbled onto something. I'll just say that. And I'm not going to give anything up about it. So yeah, the only content I do for NBA is PrizePicks stuff every once in a while. I used to actually post videos on my channel. I like my top PrizePicks plays every single day. But yeah, it's mostly golf for me. I do quite a bit of football too. And then NBA, but I keep that to myself for the most part. And it's the preserve the edge, because if I gave away what I do for NBA, everyone would start doing it. Like, I guarantee you, like people would immediately copy it. So Logan says Flex Friday is a $20 insured. So how about we make a slip together on stream then for the insured entry? And I'm just going to double check on the Discord to see when they're doing it, to make sure that obviously we can enter one on stream and it'll count. Let's see. Is it after 10:30 a.m.? It is. So sweet. Yeah, we're going to make a slip together for that, boys. We're going to make it a 6-man card. We're going to go through all the money because $20 for me is like 0.5 units. So might as well go for the 25x payout. But let's get it, boys. Let's get into this. So by the way, if you're just hopping in, I'm not an ambassador on PrizePicks anymore. I guess we'll have this ramble again. They banned me because I was talking shit to their lines makers. They took me off there. Didn't give me any sort of explanation, whatnot. So we're definitely going to stick it to them today. So the props that I took got bumped an entire stroke. So over here with Kurt Kitayama, he was at 70 strokes. They had Bo Hostler at 70.5. They had Webb Simpson at 70.5 strokes, and they had Andrew Putnam at 70. They all and Kisner, they had at 71 strokes. They bumped all of these. So not only did they ban me from the Discord, they took me away from being ambassador, all that sort of fun stuff. Now they're just bumping things like whole strokes, like immediately as soon as I enter them. And not even after I put them on Patreon, because these strokes props that I'm taking, I entered even after the bumps. I entered them again at 70.5. I entered them again at 71 strokes and again at 71 for Webb Simpson. and then they bumped them again. So like it's like they literally have a personal vendetta against me. Like I seriously don't understand it. But I mean, I guess I do understand it, right? If I was running a betting company and someone was rinsing me of all my money, I guess I wouldn't be that happy about it either. But the top end of the board, there's a few other guys that you could take. So if you're an underdog, fading guys like a Jordan Spieth makes perfect sense. He's at 68.5 strokes on underdog for Monterey Peninsula. So if you're going to take a fade for him, I'd prefer it on that side. Let's see, what do they have Victor Hovland at over there? They have him at 68.5 strokes too. So you can see that PrizePicks has him at 69.5. I still think that's probably even a little too low. Like conditions are going to be really nasty today. So if you're going to take those fades though, you might as well do them on underdog where you're not only getting like no multiplier, but then you're also able to get the better number, right? You're able to get them there at 68.5 rather than the 69 number or 69.5 number they're at. So both of those are numbers that I would go out there and bet for sure on that side. In terms on PrizePicks, to try and make this card, you have to be creative about it. But like a McNeely, well, actually he's at Monterey. That's the issue. So something to note here too, guys, is that not everyone on the board is playing at Pebble Beach, right? So PB's Pebble Beach, that's the course that's a par 72. These Monterey guys are playing at a par 71. So please just, when you're tracking your props, when you're trying to make sure that your guys are hitting or you're not hitting, that sort of thing, Monterey's a par 71, not a par 72. That's really big when it comes to scoring, really big when you're trying to do stroke counts, all that sort of thing. So don't get flabbergasted by that. Let's just say that. Jump Boy says he's ready for the 25X. Absolutely. What's going on? It's NBA only. Yeah. Wait, what's only NBA? Oh, it's only for NBA? All right, we're still going to make a 25X card. I'll do that for you guys. That's the lamest thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It's really only for NBA. Wow. So they do that so that I can't give you guys a flex play. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I literally think they just hate golf. They hate that we're out here winning money, and they want to force us to play some NBA card. Yeah, so the crazy thing is I could give you guys an NBA card. I still might do it. But the reasoning, I might keep a lot of it to myself, but I might give you guys the 6 props that we'll take. We'll see if we have the time. Yeah, it's only NBA. Wow, that's disappointing. I have to say that. Josh says Flex Friday is NBA only. Great. At least you guys let me know, but that's horrible. You got Mav shot under and Bill Haas under matchup. So you have what is under 70 strokes? I don't know. I feel like that's like a coin flip. I feel like that's a pretty solid projection when it comes to Maverick. So I probably wouldn't touch it, but I'm okay with the under. I just, like I said, if it's a fair projection, right, it's a 50-50 anyways. I'm not going to talk you in one direction or the other there. But then you said Bill Haas under matchup. I do like that one. I saw somebody mention that on Twitter last night. And who's he against? Yeah, he's against Russell Knox. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't love matchups, but if I was going to play a matchup, it probably would be this kind of matchup where it's like an old guy versus a Russell Knox who's been exceptional around this track. So good looks on that one, man. That's actually a good matchup prop. But yeah, the strokes prop I'm a little bit less bullish on, to be honest. Freebie says screw PrizePicks. They banned you for winning too much also. Yeah, they're very soft. Tanner says it's only NBA PrizePicks. Great. Bro, guys, I know you guys you guys told me 10 times now, bro. I know. You should start your own Discord. I do have one, Miguel. So if you join the Patreon page, there's a whole Discord going for it. So yeah, if you get in there, let me know. Send me a message there on Patreon, and I'll get you into the Discord for sure. Give us the NBA. Yeah, I probably will. We'll see. And Kitayama easy under for strokes. I don't know about that. At 71 strokes. Dude, so if you're just hopping in here and then you're like posting those props down there, just remember the weather's nasty, bro. It's not going to be anything like what we saw for Thursday. Wind gusts like crazy the entire morning, rain the entire day. So for me personally, guys, I would just be taking all fades. Find players that are playing on Pebble Beach that you don't expect to go out there and light it up. So, and I hate to say it, guys, I would still play these guys at 71 strokes. Like I hate bumps more than anyone else in the world. I mean, I got these guys a whole stroke lower than what they are right now. I'd still take their overs. I'd still take the over on a Hostler, a Simpson, or Kurt Kitayama. The scoring average at Pebble, I'm expecting to be 72, maybe 72.5 strokes. And Hostler, Wedman, Kitayama, they're decent players, but they're not elite level players for this field. Like they're maybe slightly above average sort of players. So if we really think the weather's going to be a huge impact today, it's still a no-brainer to take their over. But obviously, for somebody like me that got them at 70.5, got them at 70 strokes, so on and so forth, it's a tougher sell, right? Like I'm not going to go in there and add these props in here now, right? There's no reason for me to go out there and do so. In fact, even if I wanted to, I can't. Like let me show you guys. Like I'm not bullshitting you. Hit your $500 maximum, right? So this used to be $2,000 for me. Then they put it down to $1,000. Then they put it down to $500. So I'm already maxed out. But if I was entering cards right now, I'd still take the over in all three of these, and they've already been bumped twice. Honestly, Andrew Putnam, I'd still take the over on at 71 strokes. If you wanted to take birdies or better instead, unfortunately, they took those off the board. So they had Kurt Kitayama at 5 birdies or better. I was able to get him at that mark, but even my Patreon people couldn't get him at 5 because they instantly bumped him down. Like that's what I mean by they're like watching my account. I entered a card, and within 2 minutes, Kurt Kitayama went from 5 down to 4 birdies. But the guys that you could take here, Andrew Putnam under, I still like. You could still take the Kurt Kitayama under 4.5. Makes sense to me. And then these guys at 5 birdies at Monterey. So I don't love the fades for Monterey as much because it's a par 71, right? And they're like projected only like 1.5 strokes under the average. But if you go to birdies or better, you don't have to worry about the fact it's a par 71. In fact, if anything, the par 71 makes birdies harder to come by. And if you take a look at the stats from round one, actually, I take it back, boys. These are the fades you want. Like if you couldn't get the props before bumps and whatnot, these are the guys that you want to be taking. Like hands down, 100%, no doubt about it. Because let me just actually bring up the stats. I'm like having an epiphany on stream right now about some of the props that you could take. Yesterday at Pebble Beach, there were 2.33 birdies or better. Sorry, 233 birdies or better at Pebble Beach. And at Monterey, which played slightly easier, right? There was only 212. So there were 21 less birdies yesterday at Monterey Peninsula as compared to what we had over there for Pebble, right? But it played easier. So I think PrizePicks, a lot of other people out there that are doing their analysis might think that there's more birdies being made at Monterey Peninsula, but that's not the case. So I love all these unders. In fact, I got to figure out a way to get these into cards somehow because you saw, right? Even if I want to enter a card right now, I can't. I'm at my maximum of whatever it is, $500 in a day, which is just ridiculous that they do that to me to begin with. So if you're gonna take these 4, the flex play, wow. So now they even fixed the flex play method where it was paying you 5.5x before. And now they put it down to a 6x payout for a power play. Guys, PrizePicks is just getting like scummier and scummier by the day. Like literally, it's quite atrocious. They used to pay out 7x for one of these. They used to pay 5.5x, and now they're making it even worse. I'm like, come on. I'm glad. I'm honestly glad I'm not affiliated with them anymore. It's embarrassing. They're really watering down their product. But if you wanted to get rid of the multiplier, let's try and work around it a few different ways to do so. Is this a legit payout? Guys, look at this payout that they're trying to give us. This is a 5-leg card, and they're trying to pay us out 5x for it. Do they think we're morons or something? Like, do they think that we lack brain cells and can't realize how much of a scam that is? Like this is ridiculous at this point. So we might need to find a DMP to get this done. So I'm actually going to open it up to chat right now, boys. If you guys know of any soccer DMPs, you know of any CSGO DMPs, Dota, so on and so forth, feel free to go ahead and toss them down in chat, because if we can find a DMP for this, we can obviously make this a 4-leg flex and get the full payout structure. And in fact, if you wanted to add another fade and make it a 6-man card, I don't hate that idea either. So let's see. We can add the Kurt Kitayama under onto there too. Let's see. Yeah, let's do the Kurt Kitty. Actually, yeah, let's do the Kurt Kitayama under on that. And then let's find a DMP. So I'll check down in chat, see if any of you guys were quick about that. That'd be pretty sweet. Let's see what we got. Joseph says, must be a lot of moles from PrizePicks in this chat. Probably. They're probably watching right now. So what's up? What's up, lines makers? You bitch made motherfuckers. Jake Engelman says, PrizePicks Discord sucks. I agree. That's why the Discord with the Patreons usually where I stick for the most part. And now that they took me off of Ambassador, it's going to be even more so the case. There's no reason for me to hang out there, right? J Full says, personally, I still like to hear the golf /underdog /PrizePicks, of course. That's why I wanted to go through those on there. Thoughts on Seamus Power birdies are better and Hoagie's birdies are better. For overs, I would not be taking them for overs. The conditions are just way too tough today. If you're talking about for unders, then I could be about it, but you're not getting those guys on this board, unfortunately. Barry says Davis Riley today, crap load of birdies yesterday. I like him for Showdown. I like him for the fantasy scoring formats. He's going to make a bunch of bogeys. So if you're trying to take like a prop on strokes, I don't even know if they had, I think they had him over there on Underdog for the prop board. Probably stay away from that just because he's so volatile. But yeah, if you're going to get any sort of exposure to him, I don't hate birdies, and I mostly like them for Showdown purposes, for DFS. Kobe says, what about Kurt over 4.5? I would not take the over. I would take the under, if anything. Rain delay could be. Not sure if it's going to end up happening, but it's a possibility. Any DMPs for the over? Yeah, I would love a DMP. If anyone... Wait, is Percy on the board for a birdie or better matchup? Because you just said that Percy WD'd. Okay, scour the board quickly. Is Percy on there? Percy. Sorry, you guys are seeing me just like cracked out trying to look at this right now. It's got Piercy, not Percy. Damn it. That would have been such an easy DNP if we had someone withdraw before lock and then we're able to take their matchup. Oh, that's unfortunate. We missed Ben Griffin's 18th hole. Well, it's probably a good thing you missed his 18th hole. He made a 10 over there. He hit 2 shots out of bounds. Damon says, I was about to say, birdie fades for the top guys look way better. Yeah, minus 1.5 projection, but needs 6 birdies to go over. Yeah, after bumps, for sure, agree. Like, these guys at 5, like, they're not making 6 birdies. And if they do, hats off to them. Good for them. Oh, my mop of a hat is coming out. Hair is coming out right now. Boy, oh boy. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, the more I think about it, those are absolute gold mines. Mr. B says, yeah, a bunch of studs played Pebble Beach in Monterey. Peninsula was a bunch of losers. Well, not so sure. I don't really buy the whole like field things because, yeah, there were a lot of good guys that were playing Spyglass yesterday. But if anything, that should have made Spyglass play quote unquote easier, right? And it was 1.8 shots harder than the other 2 courses. So I don't buy into that too much. Sports Life says you're only seeing 10-mile-an-hour winds on Willy Weather. Let's double check on that, boss. I want to bring up Willy Weather right now. How about that? I saw 28 miles an hour last night, so I don't know about that. Let's see. Pebble Beach, Willy Weather. It's actually one of my last things I've searched up. So look at that. Let's bring up good old Wind Finder, and let's go over here to sharing our screen. I think you're right. They only have sustained winds on here, so that's probably why. So on Saturday, right around like 10 a.m., that's the tide line. They have 17 miles an hour, boss. And they have it actually going up in the afternoon. So actually not Saturday. I'm shot. Completely ignore what I just said. So they have it higher right now there. So they have it like the 17 miles an hour right now, like 6 a.m. So that's like current right there. Then they have it dropping off to right around like the 10 miles an hour. These are your sustained numbers. So if you go over here to Wind Finder, you'll see it's like 9 to 7 miles an hour of sustained winds. They tend to agree with it, but you still have 10 mile an hour sustained winds. I mean, it says gentle. It's a gentle little breeze, but I tend to agree with Wind Finder the most over here. I mean, let's refresh it, right? See did they change it? Oh, they did change. They changed the broadcast on us in the last 30 minutes. So now it's a little bit less gusty, but there's little periods coming through where they think it's going to be gusty early, then it's going to drop off, then it's going to get slightly more gusty again. And now they have the rain coming in like pockets. It's going to be such a shit show. Like, it's going to rain early, it looks like, right? So the guys that are teeing off early, they're going to be in some nasty little downpour. Might not be as gusty as it was projecting for. So maybe they get a little bit of a break there. But the guys towards the afternoon, like, why does it randomly spike to 21 miles an hour there? Like, that Wind Finder's on one right now. I'm going to bring up another wind source now that you mention it, because that is different than what we saw literally about 20 minutes ago. So let's find the wind forecast for another site. We'll look up AccuWeather, and then we'll go to weather.com, because those are usually my top 4. I'd say Windy app too. We can use Windy app as well. Let me share my screen. Got the other source up. Okay, here's Windy app. So yeah, see, they're still looking at it to be pretty windy early. So they have it 10 a.m. local time. They still have 23 mile an hour wind gusts. They have it calming down right about midday to closer to 11 miles an hour, which is pretty similar to what you saw over there for Wind Finder. God, this is tough to say, man. Now none of them agree. Before, they were all pretty much in lockstep, agreeing that it was going to be pretty windy early and then dying down. Now some of them are saying maybe not so much. So good call on pointing that out there, but it's hard to say. I'm not changing my picks at this point because it's like 20 minutes before a lock at this point, and yeah, it'd be hard to anyways. Like it looks like a shit show even on willy weather, right? Like it's super high winds early, drops off, then kicks back up. Like what are these slapdick weathermen talking about, right? Like did they just want to project for everything so that they can't be wrong? It's kind of what it looks like they're doing right now. But 2 overs will bring 25x. Yep. It will, but then you have to get those 2 overs correct. Underdog better. I agree. Underdog's better because there's no multiplier. You paired it with the free square. Let me see if I can even do that. I don't know if it'll allow me to. Let's see. I think that because, I tried this before, actually. I know it's not going to work, but let's try. Yeah, see, so it still says my maximum amount's $500. Unfortunate. I was hoping that would work. Alabama says, what are your top golf picks today? So it's these on the board here on the right side. I'm slightly less bullish on them because of that last weather report we looked at, but still 5 birdies or better at a course where the average is right about 3.8, 3.9 birdies is still too much, particularly if it's going to rain. The one thing I will say is that all the forecasts are still calling for that rain, right? So even if the winds aren't as nasty as what they were calling for, you're going to see some sort of effect with this precipitation coming down. So it would be these unders over there. What we're trying to do right now is actually to find a DNP because obviously I've shown you guys this before. It's a joke. If you go down here and you were to play this like Billy Haas under, right? That somebody pointed out before and I thought was a pretty good matchup prop. You go down to a 5x payout. Actually, no, they got it up to 12.5x now. It was 5x before. It's 5x for the 5 leg, which is atrocious, right? It's a 5 leg parlay and they're paying us a 5x payout. Yeah, it's atrocious. So we're trying to find a DMP right now. If anyone finds one, let me know again. Sad. I told a lot of people about this shit. I have no idea what you're talking about, bro. What are you sad about? Percy, withdraw. Don't play Hostler. Birdie, a better matchup. Is that your favorite 4? Of the ones that are left on the board, lots of bumps. You said if you add NBA, will it be a flex Friday? I think it has to be all NBA for the entire flex play, unfortunately. Yeah, like Jonathan said. Chris says, so in cash, is all Monterey a bad idea? It might be, Chris, yeah. Especially if the winds die down. You might want to be looking at both courses. At least personally, in my Showdown poll, I went with both courses, right? Just weighed them a little bit more heavily than Spyglass. In cash, yeah, I wouldn't just play Monterey, guys. Like if you have Pebble Beach players that are going to fit your lineup, that you have projecting a little bit higher than the guys around them at Monterey, then yeah, feel free to use the Pebble Beach guys. There's no issue there. 2 NBA picks will bring a 25x. There you go. There you go. That's probably what we're going to end up doing here is I'm going to go and just try and find you guys 2 NBA plays to add to it. Because I don't know, if we can't find a DNP, right, that's probably the best way to go. So again, I'm still waiting on a DNP to see if you guys have anything for me. Let's see. Mr. B says he's with Hostler. Okay. Paul says he was against someone else. Gotcha. So you're talking about the matchup. Yeah. Okay. Pretty sure. Oh, Percy with just, they did have him up. Damn, that sucks. We were too slow at getting the DMP. That's unfortunate. I see what you guys are saying. That's funny. Oh, wait, is he still on the board? Is that what you're saying? Are you trying to say that he's still up there? Am I blind? I might have been blind. Maybe they took him off. I don't know. I might not have seen it. That's unfortunate. All right. Well, hopefully you guys got that in at least. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, you guys are all pointing that out now. I guess I'm blind. Yeah, it's not up there anymore. I can tell you that much. I missed out on it. 3B says, any thoughts on cumulative par 3 strokes? Yeah, I actually had the overs for a few guys, 3B. So let me double check on who they were. There were 2 of them. I had Matt Fitzpatrick and Keith Mitchell over 14.5. So they're playing at Monterey. There's 5 par 3s there, and they're all relatively difficult. So my thought process is they bogey 1 out of the 5, right? They're going to have a hard time shooting under par. So I feel good about them shooting even par and going for the over. And especially if it's nasty out, right? If it's going to be rainy, windy, that sort of thing. I love both of those. So Matty Fitz and Keith Mitchell, 2 guys I took for that. Jay Full says you took the 5 players with Mahomes free square. Sounds good. Paul says Percy or Piercy. It's a Percy, yeah. Yeah, Putnam's, it's the other guy. It's the other dude. Mr. B says you're referencing why there's so many more birdies on Pebble Beach than Monterey Peninsula. Gotcha. It might be the field strength, but in the past, Monterey, it's a par 71. There's not as many par 5s. So that's probably why there were less birdies there. But it's also a lot more open off the tee. There's not nearly as much trouble to hit into. So though you're making less birdies around Monterey, you're also going to have a lot less bogeys than what you'd have over there at Pebble Beach. Because, I mean, there's the cliffs at Pebble, right? You hit one awry shot, you're going to end up having at least 1-2 penalty shots. So, yeah, that's why that's happening. Logan says Kiz over par 3s is assuming what you're saying. I'm okay with that. Kurt under birdies. Yeah, I'm taking the under. I'm not going for the over for sure. Windfinder changed it. Yep, saw that. Paul says Percy versus Hostler, birdie or better matchup. Yeah, you guys, they took it off, unfortunately. I wish. He said, has Percy for DNP. Yeah, you guys, unfortunately, I'm too late. Leon says, new to this, what's the best play? The guys on the right side are my favorite props. Ali, I would go with the overs on Jordan Spieth and Fitz that I was talking about before, then those 2 par 3 props. Paul says, guys, I saw it the first time. You don't have to message me multiple times. I got you. I'll see them eventually. Sometimes it takes me some time to see them, though. What plays are you recommending? The guys on the right. Logan says, if you take the over on birdie payout, goes way up. It does, but then you have to hit the over on somebody's birdies. So, unfortunately, I try to avoid that. It'd be kind of forcing in a play. Sean says, you got a fan in you. Appreciate the insight. Of course. PrizePicks is fucking with the weather apps too. That'd be something. Russ says, how do you feel about the Tom Hoagie birdie or better matchup? Good question. I don't know who he's playing against. Let's see. Where's good old Hoagster at? Probably, there you are, against Ben Griffin. So 2 guys that we supported yesterday. That's a close matchup, man. Ben Griffin, he made those 5 birdies for us, and he missed like 5 putts within 7 feet for birdie. On the front 9, he missed 3 alone. I know on the back 9 on hole number, I believe, 11, he missed another like 5-footer for a birdie. So I don't know if I'd be fading good old Ben Griffin. He came through for us yesterday, and he could have had a much better day as well. Jonathan says a 4-leg flex for 4X isn't that bad. It kind of sucks. It's I don't know. It's not the worst. You're right, Jonathan. But a 1X decrease, like, I don't know, if I can find a way to DNP it and get the full payout, I'm going to do so, right? Then that's a legitimate possibility. Like, I'm sure there's DNPs out there. When I get off stream here, I'm sure I'll be able to find one. Todd says, love your show. Need some NBA now. Screw PrizePicks. Yeah, we'll go through a few. I'll go through the NBA board at least. I'm not promising you I'm going to find anything, but we'll try to. You found the DNP. Yep. I know, bro. It's off the board now. Jay says, who's your favorite golf player? Jordan Spieth. No doubt about it. It's Jordan Spieth by far. You don't see where it says Percy withdrew, but Hostler's playing with him in birdie or better matchup. Oh my gosh, boys, I don't see him on the board. Am I blind? Like, they took him off the board because he withdrew. See? He's not there anymore. That's enough about that, boys. Come on. Sad about PrizePicks. I don't know what you're sad. What are you sad for, though, bro? Like, you're sad about PrizePicks? Like, I don't know. Is it the ambassador thing? Like, I don't know, man. Paul says they just took down Percy Hostler. Yep. And I know you were spamming it. Hey, I appreciate it. You were trying to make sure I saw it. I had too many questions down in chat and couldn't see it, unfortunately. Kurt Birdie's over. No, I would not bet that. I have the under, honestly. Kobe says, which plays the very risky play? None of them. I don't play things that are extremely risky. Swisher says you can try to find a CSGO map 3. Yeah, that, a Dota round map 3. There's plenty of DNPs for that. Soccer, if a guy doesn't end up starting in soccer, they get automatically DNP'd. So there's plenty of ways to do it. It's just when I'm on stream here and I'm answering questions, I can't do it myself. That's why I was kind of asking you guys to try and find one. But obviously, it's not your responsibility, right? Don't feel like you have to. But if you're out there and you want to find a way to play this like in a 5-man flex for the full payout, obviously 10X is a lot better than the 5X payout that you would have been getting before. Then do the DNP method, which honestly, I might just go and try and find one here in a second. They changed the payouts. If you want to add basketball players, they are controlling the shit. Yeah, they're getting really butthurt. That's what it looks like. Power over his matchup. Let's see who's a good old power against Malnati. Oh, so I agree with you, Crazy. You would lean on the over, but Malnati is a crazy man. Do not sleep on him. He's more than capable of going out there and winning that matchup. So I'll just say crazy. Yes, right? Like you definitely take a Seamus Power there. But Malnati, he breaks hearts all the time. He's a madman out there, very aggressive player. Darren says, hey, you made it back in time. Let's go. Ryan B. Hoopin, at the end, can we get a sneak peek of NBA? Yeah, I'll give you guys a little look, okay? Stone says, is Rose your favorite Spyglass play? Yeah, I had Rose in my player pool for DFS. But yeah, especially because he's got the around the green play. He's used to those windy conditions. Yeah, he's my favorite play there. Swish says, you can try and find, yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to do that here in a second, Swish. Good idea. Chase says, I kind of like Hall and Higgs matchups. Let's take a look at them. See, so Harry Hall, I'm guessing, is the one. Yep. So he's going to Matthias Schwab. Yeah, Schwab's been dog shit. So, okay. And who was the other one? It was Hall and then Higgs. Gosh, I love Harry Higgs. I'm a sucker for playing him against Streelman. So I would probably avoid that one. Streelman loves Pebble Beach. He plays exceptional golf there. Might have the best track record of anybody here in the entire field. I would say maybe Jordan Spieth's number one. Number two would be a Kevin Streelman when it comes to that form. But yeah, this Harry Hall one, I tend to like it. Look, it's not even going to help our payouts too much here by adding them in there. But yeah, if you're looking for a matchup card, not the worst idea. Like it. That last Griffin chip-in was insane. Yeah, I watched it live too, Oak. So I was sweating that like a whore in church on Sunday. And I had up the ESPN Plus and everything, was looking at it. And I brought it up just in time. I clicked on the hole 17. They had Ben Griffin kind of like reading the chip. He was like actually reading it like a putt. I'm like, oh, this must be makeable then. And then he hits it, and it goes in. You've never seen a guy fist pump harder than I did in that moment. So yeah, that was insane. It was a lot of fun. Isn't Kurt risky? Not that I know of. No, he was hooping yesterday. That's just golf, bro. Like, that's what I'll say. I've been doing this for a while. You guys might be new to golf, right? It's that time of year where like a lot of NBA, NFL fans start cycling over to golf now that it's kind of like the down season for it. It's not like NBA where players go on streaks, right? But like a hot shooter like Steph Curry is just making everything for like a 2-3 game stretch. Golf is random as hell. If you play really well one day, like shoot 6-7 under par, if anything, at least this is my opinion on it. It's contentious. People will call me a dumbass for thinking this. I don't care. It's worked out. It's made me a lot of money in the past. You're a lot less likely to have a good day the next. That's just how golf works. There's a balancing act. There's such thing as regression to the mean when it comes to golf. And anytime somebody goes out there, nukes a golf course in day one and then does it in day two, it's so notable that that's all the media will talk about. So last year, just to give you an example, at this event, Seamus Power shot 6 under par in day one, and I think in day two shot 7 under par. And he was winning this golf tournament by like 6 shots. You know what happened to Seamus Power last year? He finished outside the top 10, right? So just because you start real solid doesn't mean jack shit at the end of the day. These guys are golfers like you and me. They're human beings. They're not perfect. And so, yeah, I honestly, I don't think it's risky at all. Lines changed to 69 for Spieth and Hovland. Makes sense. Yeah, those were really easy overs. Lincoln says, where are you seeing the Percy WD? I'm just trusting chat, to be honest with you. He's still listed on DK and you can't find anything. Well, we'll double check on that. So we'll bring up the PGA Tour Comms Twitter. That's the easiest way to find this. Let's see. Oh, wrong page. There we go. All right, let me share my screen and we'll do our own investigative journalism, huh? Shall we? So let's see. They have the weather forecast up here. So they have rain probability at like 70 to 60% all day. And look, they're calling for the really big gusts. I mean, look at this on here, right? This is 14 minutes ago from the PGA Tour, 10 to 15 miles an hour winds, 20 mile an hour gusts, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts. That's way higher than we saw there, right? And then look at the rest of the day. They still have pretty significant winds. So I don't know who to believe. Do we believe the PGA Tour? Do we believe Willie Weather? Do we believe Windfinder? I don't know. That's just another data point to add to the madness, right? What are we going to see today? It's like a bingo card. But yeah, Cameron Percy is a WD. So yeah, guys. By the way, I'm going to put this down in chat, this link down in chat, to be quite frank with you. Follow this page if you haven't already on Twitter to get all of that news about withdrawals, all that sort of fun stuff. I just threw it down in the chat there. Okay, guys? Sweet. All right, let's head over back to PrizePicks and catch back up on these questions. Richard says Griffin saved the day. Absolutely. That was a hype moment. Darren says, which was his favorite prop today? It's these unders on Monterey Peninsula, these guys at 5 birdies. If we get the nasty conditions that most of the sources are at least calling for, it should be a pretty solid there. NBA protected play, let's take from PrizePicks. Yeah, absolutely. Then double bogey on the 18th. He more than double bogeyed. He made a 10 on the last hole. He made a +5 bogey. Todd says, if players withdraw, do they honor the props still? They void them. They DNP them. So it'll be a push. Jay Full says, may you get an underdog play. Oh, yeah, I've said them a few times now, man. So I can't bring up the app while I'm on stream here, but it was the Spieth in Fitz over on their strokes. And then it was Mitchell and who was the other one? It was Mitchell. Actually, it was Spieth over strokes, Fitzpatrick over par 3, and then Mitchell over par 3. That's the underdog play. Of course, no, I got you. Max says Davis Riley over 3 bogeys. Not the worst play. I wish he was at 2.5 so that 3 would end up being a hit for us. But yeah, I would definitely lean on the over with these conditions. Ryan says, how much are you going to put on the Super Bowl? Not that much. I'm not a huge outright bettor when it comes to football. I'll put pretty sizable bets on outrights when it comes to golf, but on football, I mean, I don't know, probably like $500 on the Super Bowl, something like that. A lot of it'll be prop based. It won't even be like from an outright perspective. So yeah, I don't know. Golf, I play a little bit more aggressively, but football, nothing crazy. It is a Super Bowl though, right? So if I'm going to play a little bit extra, I guess it would be for the Super Bowl. Cash Out says, should you lock these in? That's up to you, Ben. If you like them, lock them in. If you hate them, fade them, right? I'm not going to make your cards for you. If you think my thought process sucks, then take all the fades. You're more than welcome to, right? Darren says, he locked in Rose earlier. Sweet. Can you get some NBA picks? Yes, at the end, bro. we're getting there. Lincoln says, as soon as you type that, DK Listem is out. There you go. Yeah, the Twitter, by the way, that link I put down in chat, this one right here, that's the Twitter page you want to follow for all of that news. It's very important to follow that. Richie says, K-Rad over 18.5 mat-free kills, blowing the other team out. Thank you, Richie. Let me bring up HLTV just to show everyone that you're not making shit up. I trust you, by the way. But here's the scoreboard, just to confirm that for you guys. And if that's the case, that's exactly what we need for a DMP. So thank you for looking out, Richie. I appreciate you. So you're saying it is K-Rad over 18.5. Let's see. Where is his game? Do you know what game that is? I mean, I can just click through and figure it out. You're saying K-Rad, so it is this one. So it's the Fours team. They're already up 1, I believe. Is that right? They're not up 1, but they're killing the other team. I see what you're saying. You could probably use that as a DMP, right? And you're saying that at the worst case, he's probably going to go over anyways, is I think the thought process. So yeah, let's do that. Let's do that for this slip here. So let's do K-Rad over for the map 3, because like you said, if it ends up going to the tiebreaker, you're saying that he could probably easily go over anyways. So yeah, let's do that. So we'll do that. We'll put in a full $40 entry. And wait, it's only a 15x payout, so they really do screw you on that. But again, we want this to be DNP'd, so if it ends up going over and we get the 15x payout, so be it, right? 15x is going to be more than the 10x we'd get if it gets DNP'd. So will let me do a $100 entry? I don't think so. Max account winnings is $1,000. So you see, I can't even enter cards that net over $1,000. And then, yeah, it won't even let me enter it. So like I said, these damn limits when it comes to PrizePicks are extremely annoying. But yeah, if you guys are going to try and enter this card, go with this, 5-leg flex payout. This is how I would do so. If this ends up getting DNP'd, you're going to get the full regular 5-leg flex payout. And if it doesn't get DNP'd, then hopefully Richie has the lock there. And I trust you, man. PGA Com sent it out. Yep, go Steelers. Love it. We got actually, I'm going to go ahead and grab this over here. It's brand new. I don't do this all the time. Okay, we didn't cut ourselves at least. Okay. That was some funny shit. Someone's got to clip that. That was supposed to be me grabbing a Kenny Pickett helmet and showing it to you guys, but clearly I just made a boo-boo. All right, there's a bunch of glass on the ground, so I'm not gonna, hopefully not step on anything. Luckily, the helmet's fine. It's just we look like an absolute dunce now. I'm trying to make sure my hand's not cut. It's got a little like scrape on it. It's not bleeding though. What I wanted to show you, Jake, was the Kenny Pickett helmet I got last week. It's a Kenny Pickett signed helmet. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, didn't mean to make all that ruckus. That was overboard there. We're gonna have to get off stream here quickly, boys, to clean it up. That's a meme. Tom says, Westmoreland looks like he might break the mold today and string another good round. That'd be pretty cool. He's a young up-and-coming player. Uproar says, should you add one of these plays to pair with Pat for I have no idea what you're saying, Uproar. Should you add one of these plays to pair with Pat Mahomes? Yeah, I don't think it's the worst idea, especially because you're going to get the full payout there. Bull says, any CSGO lock, yeah, the K-Rad's the one you want to take there. Should be a DMP. Jay Full says, thanks for the underdog play. Of course. William says, what is your favorite lock? Oh boy, I hate when you guys do that to me. Probably the Fitz under, just because he is injured at this point. Probably the one fade to be taken the most. Switcher says, I know this is a crazy question, but do you ever do Euroball? If you're talking about Euro basketball, I don't. But if you're talking about Euro golf from time to time, wouldn't recommend fading our guy. Yeah. Like I said, you're all willing to. You're all able to. I wouldn't recommend it, though. Seamless says, who was the fifth pick that you weren't showing on the screen? Yeah, good point. Let's see. It's Kurt Kitayama at 4.5. At the top, it's the Hovland. So I'm not sure which one was cut off, but probably those two. And then this is the one we're using for the DMP purposes, this K-Rad, a team that should be able to take out Gamer Legion for the second map. But if not, he's their top fragger at this point. I'm just making sure. I think it's just a flesh wound. There's like a, from me dropping that shit, there's like a, I don't know. I think we're good. I'm just trying to make sure that my finger's not going to start like gushing blood or something like that. Seamless says for birdies. I see you guys reacting to that shit now. I'm glad you guys thought that was as funny as I did. Some funny shit. You definitely don't do this all the time. Yeah. Like I said, at least the helmet's good, right? At least it doesn't have any massive marks on it, I guess. But yeah, we're gonna have to sweep up the ground. That's for damn sure. PrizePicks sucks. Yeah, they do. Honestly, can you go over your slip again? You can't see it. You should be able to see it right there. Hopefully that helped you. If you win in Showdown today, you owe me and somebody else for the Percy alert. Well, hey, appreciate you. You don't have to give me anything, but hopefully you win anyways. That'd be pretty awesome. And Upward got you. Thanks, of course. J-Jack says, what are you gonna do for a 6-man flex Friday for NBA? Yeah, let's go through this NBA board. I got to go clean up this shit here in a second. So I'll do like the quickest look through of the NBA board ever. By the way, this Damian Lillard prop, it was at 35.5 to start the day, and now it's at 35. You obviously still take the under. Like, I know that there's like no one playing for Portland, and that's why he has such a high projection. But 35 points is absurd. And I know he goes on streaks where he's just like an otherworld shooter. But even Luka at like 35.5 points is comical, even in the best of game scripts that you have out there. So I would probably fade Damian even still at 35 points. Let me look at the sportsbook odds. I have to imagine that the sports books are juicing the under here. There's no way. I say there's no way that that's the case, and of course there is still a way. But let's double check on that. All right, there's an NBA. Let's find Portland's game. There you are, against the Washington Wizards. Absolute gold mine. And they have Damian at 34.5. Yeah, so they still have him projected under. I think it was minus 120 to the over. So it's not like it was juiced to the under at 24.5. But yeah, still I'd take the under there on a Damian. You don't see those numbers that often. I like looking at the blocks and steals marks and trying to see if there's any of the higher pace games with an elite level block steal guy. Doesn't look like there's that much to be had out there. Like 2.5 for Fred VanVleet. Get out of here. Walker Kessler 2.5 as well. It's just, I don't know. I don't love that board there that much. Let's look at rebound board. I love the rebound board, especially in a high-paced game. So let's see. That Portland game spot, it's a pretty good game for rebounds, truth be told. Just 35 points is ridiculous, no matter who it is. What's Porzingis? Let me look at Porzingis' rebound number. That sticks out. Yeah, he's at 8.5, and he's juiced towards the over. Yeah, so this would be a good little correlation play that you could go with. Just hoping that maybe Damian shoots a little bit lower percentage than he typically does on your average slate. It's going to give a few more rebound opportunities to somebody like Porzingis that's already juiced for the over there. Again, Damian's projected lower on sportsbooks than he is over here on PrizePicks. So I don't hate those two whatsoever. Let's look at the later games. This Boston-Phoenix game is not ideal when it comes to fantasy scoring, so probably going to avoid that. It's just a little slower paced. Anytime you have Minnesota playing, you want to consider them because they're a high-paced team. Orlando, not the best defensive team either. So let's find an Anthony Edwards prop. Anytime you get Anthony Edwards in a really high-paced game, that's something that I'm usually all about. And let's find what props the best. If you can't tell, I do a lot of my analysis. Again, this is why I'm trying not to do this much here. Looking at sportsbook odds, especially when it comes to NBA. All right, so NBA, we got Anthony Edwards. Let's look at his player point prop. His player point prop is spot on line with what they have it on PrizePicks, so that's probably not the best to take a look at. They do have his rebound prop at 6.5, juice towards the under. So I think 6 rebounds is pretty adequate there. What about his assist prop? Higher pace game, yeah. So that's actually what I like here. I would take his over on assists because, again, you have the higher pace spot. There's going to be more scoring, should be more transition baskets, which is good for Anthony Edwards on his assists. A lot of his assists tend to come on those transition baskets. And he's at 5.5 on the books. So I like those 3. Let's make it a 4-man card. Actually, we'll make it a whole flex card, right? Because it has to be all NBA for this. So let's make this work. Again, I'm doing this live, so this is going to take me a little bit more time than if I was prepared to do so. Injury-wise, I don't see why you'd take any of these. Yeah, no. The turnover board, very mid. What about 3-point board? What does Jaylen Brown? Oh, of course. Yeah, off the 7 3-pointer game, everyone's going to try and play him, and he's not going to do jack shit. We know how that works. Let's look at assist with Chris Paul. The one thing I'll say is that this Phoenix versus Boston game, I don't love from the pace perspective, but I do expect it to be extremely competitive, right? 2 top-level teams. Let's look at where the books have Chris Paul. That's intriguing to me at the very least, especially if we're expecting this to be competitive. So, clicked off of it. That's not ideal. So Chris Paul player assists, they have it 9.5 juiced. They have it at 9.5. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They have an entire assist off of where they have it on PrizePicks. That is absolute money. Let's see. Let's continue this. I don't hate trying to take a Tatum prop, truth be told. Probably Tatum like rebounds or something. Because anytime it's like a real competitive game, he just plays more often. He's just minus 135, minus 138 for the over. So that's another really solid prop that you can take. And let's try and take something from that Toronto team, I guess, because they're playing Houston. Houston's absolute dog shit on defense. So let's try and find a way to attack that. Perhaps, what is Siakam's point prop? $25.5. It's the same as on books. Let's just put Raptors in here and find our boy. So we're going against a really shitty defense. This might be a blowout, so I don't love these props as much as some of the other ones. They have Van Vliet at 22.5 on most books. He's at 21.5. So I guess we'll go with that. That's probably the best value that we can find. We're going to do our $20 6-leg flex to get the protected play, and we'll run that. So this is the slip that we're going with for NBA. So if you guys didn't hear, there is a protected play if you're going for NBA. So this is what I'm going with. So all of these are favored on the books. Every single prop on here is either juiced towards that side or at a completely different projection on the board. I would say my favorite out of the bunch would be this Chris Paul over. The same thing with the Jason Tatum over. Both of those are heavily juiced props. In fact, a whole entire assist higher for a Chris Paul. Fred VanVleet's off by a whole point. Damian Lillard, right, off by another point there. Just a pretty solid value. So yeah, like I said, we're go through it. We'll do an NBA slate every once in a while on here, but that's what I'm running with. Let's see. Didn't Chris Paul do terrible last game? It's kind of like golf. I don't look at how somebody played the day before and make my decisions. If you're reacting every single day, you're going to run around like a chicken with your head cut off. So I would not recommend making that your way to do analysis. Let's see. Check his last 5, not the best, but has been cash. So, who are you talking about with that one? Probably not sure who you're talking about with that one. Kessler did just have 7 blocks, but not very repeatable. Yeah, like that's usually why they post the props up there, right? It's like they see somebody have like 7 threes, like what they had for Jaylen Brown on there, and they go, oh, we can get people to bet his over at 2.5 now that he made 7 the last day. So yeah, that's why I don't overreact with that. It's the same thing with golf, honestly. I have the same kind of thought process. Anthony Edwards over rebounds. Yeah, what did I end up taking on that? Oh, I have to stop sharing because I have to bring up the other tab. Yeah, it was Anthony Edwards over assists at 5. A lot of that is because of the transition baskets, and of course, he's at 5.5 in all the books. So yeah, I took assists, but you could take rebounds too. That'd be fine. Logan, Tim says rebounds over looks nice. Yep, that's what I took. Chris Paul did terrible. Yep, already went over that. Jake says appreciate the streams and insight. Of course, they bumped. Still take the birdie unders. Wait, they bumped those already? Who would have thought? Oh, they bumped them up? Yeah, of course I'd take the under even more so then. So they bumped down a few of the other guys, and then they bumped up these guys to 5.5. I'm sure as shit take the under now. If you weren't able to get them before, even better at this point. Yes, absolutely. Thug Rupee says, what about Derek White PRA? I don't love PRAs, to be honest with you, man. PRAs, you just have so many different props that you have to hit at the same time. Like if they just go way under on points, right? They have like no chance to go over. I would just look at them individually, man. That's just my personal preference when it comes to that. They just bumped him up and now he's at 5.5. Yeah, I would take their unders even more now. Still go under 5.5, even more so. Right. Well, if we were taking their under at 5, why would we take their over at 5.5, guys? Like obviously. What were the props for basketball again? If you go scroll back, you'll be able to see them. I just brought them up there. They're salty. That's fine. Hey, if anything, they're making them even better for us. Like if they think that bumping them up is gonna like make me feel bad or like I don't know, like piss me off or something like that, it's not. Like that's perfectly fine. Swisher says, really appreciate you, bro. Of course. Put into this. And Jake says, PrizePicks is so scummy. You said it. Your words, not mine, right? All right, boys. That is all I've got for this stream. Thank you guys for everybody that stopped on by. Go ahead, smash that like button before hopping on out of here. I appreciate all the support. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of the content in the future. We'll be going live tomorrow morning for everything for round 3, going live for round 4 as well. So stay tuned for all of that and for all of the content to come. Looking forward to it. Round 1 was a smash. Hopefully round 2 can be just as profitable as what we had for today. Best of luck, and I'll catch you guys for tomorrow.